Hello, welcome to Living Your Best Life, Gardening Edition. Today we are going to plant a bunch of herbs and vegetables in these three lovely raised beds that I have here. But first we got to clean them out a bit. We're going to start here with our herb garden. We've got a lot of volunteers from last year. Chives that are going to come back every year, which are these over here. We've got some thyme. Uma, how to use the thyme. We got a sage bush that's coming back already. You can see it's got little tendrils of sage coming out. We'll kind of pull some of this back, give it some room to grow. I do have some more volunteer thyme over here from probably a couple years ago. I would have planted it. I'm probably going to move it over next to the other thyme though. Got a little strawberry bush here that's coming up. Those little blossoms will turn into strawberries here soon. And this is some old rosemary. I'm going to pull it out. I've got fresh rosemary to plant. The other thing I'm going to have to do is get a lot of this out of here. This is mint. Mint grows crazy. It's got these kind of tendrils that it sends out all over the garden, so I'm going to try to get up as much of this as I can.
Smells so good.
It does smell delicious. I'm going to make some mojitos tonight maybe, but we'll get it cleaned up a little bit. We'll kind of get that mint just so it's kind of isolated to this area here. I still like the mint. You just have to, the issue with in a garden like this, it goes all over the place. So we're going to go clear this out and it'll be back with you. We're going to put some compost on top of this as well and get it raked in, and then we'll start our planting. All right, this is our compost bin. So this is where we put all those lovely vegetable scraps from our This Live Your Best Life cooking videos all end up here at the end of the show. So what you do is you basically put any organic material can be composted in here. When I'm talking about organic, and I should say every plant kind of organic material. You don't want to put like meat into this. It'll go make it smell bad. Like I'm lifting this up, I don't really smell anything at all. It smells kind of like sweet rotting vegetables. It's not stinky or smelling rancid or anything like that. It doesn't bug you at all to have it in your yard. What happens with this is over time, this top stuff starts to break down and it forms into soil at the bottom of it. After I get done removing the good organic soil that'll be at the bottom of this compost bin today, I'll stir the whole thing around and then we'll come back next year. It'll all have rotten and it'll be great dirt at the bottom. So the bottom of this compost bin opens up like this. I'm gonna be careful because a lot will slide out, but you can see we've got some pretty good organic material there at the bottom, which we'll shovel out and put into our garden. So let's go ahead, I'll get this all shoveled out, we'll go stick it in the garden. Yeah, we're just kind of trying to pull from the bottom. Put that right in there.
So it's all vegetables, right?
Yeah. All rotten vegetables. Some rotten stuff from the yard too. I do put some stuff in here at the end of the year, but again, most of it's like fruit and veggie scraps from inside. Looks like there's something trying to grow in there. Cool. So this compost, we're just going to put that right on top of the garden here. In a minute, we'll come back and rake it in once we get all three of the raised beds full of a little bit of this stuff. Cool. All right, we worked up a bit of the sweat. We've got that bottom layer of dirt that was in there is now in our garden. So we go ahead and put the cover back on. The cover the front. Press it down nice. I'm going to go ahead and pop the lid off of this for a sec, because we're going to knock this whole thing down and stir it around a bit. And then next year we'll have even more fresh compost. I'm gonna break up some of the plants and stuff that are in there. And we'll kind of keep filling this as we go through the winter and summer and winter. And by next spring, we'll have a nice layer of dirt again to go on top of our garden. They do make things that can speed this process along. You can buy them online. They're like enzymatic starters that you can spread on top when you're first getting started. This compost bin's pretty well established, so we don't need that yet. You can also buy composting worms that you can throw on top if you really want to kickstart it, but we don't go through a lot. We don't throw a lot of our yard waste into here, so don't need to do that as much. All right, now that we've got our compost on each of our beds, we filled up roughly 3 of those buckets on each bed. We're gonna work it into the soil that's around it. We're gonna use this little rake to do it. We're just gonna rake it evenly. We're gonna break up the top of the soil as we do it. We wanna mix the compost into the soil evenly, at least the top of the soil here, because it is pretty nutrient dense. And we don't want it being too strong on different parts of our plants here. So again, we're just going to kind of evenly rake using this little hand tool, hand rake here, all this material into the soil. Bust up any weeds that might already be in there too. I'm going to toss them in the yard. The lawnmower take care of them. Some trash. Some of the stuff's left over from other plants that we put in here. I'm sure we'll probably get some volunteer tomatoes in here before the year's out too. See some coming up already. But that's it, kind of evenly break it up. All right, this one's ready to plant. We'll move ahead and do the other 3, and then we'll get to planting.
Sweet.
All right, in this first garden here, we've got some of our cherry tomatoes and some of more ornamental hybrid tomatoes. This is gonna be kind of the fun color salad tomato garden area. We're also gonna plant some yellow squash. Those yellow squash, there's like 3 little plants in each of those. I'm gonna break them up and spread them out just a little bit so they don't grow on top of each other in there, and then we'll have this bed set. All right, this second bed here is gonna be our herb garden. So again, we left the stuff that came back every year, the chives, a little bit of that mint in the corner. But we've got some globe basil here, sweet basil in the front. Right next to it here, some oregano for our Italian cooking. Again, we have our strawberry plant that's coming back here. We got some Italian parsley. I like Italian parsley better than curly parsley, so it's what I usually plant every year. We got some tarragon. I use this in other recipes. It's really great in eggs. Also really good with poultry and fish. And then we've got 2 big rosemary plants. I use a lot of rosemary, so we bought 2 of those to put in the corner. And then in honor of our spring chicken, I found some fennel. So we're gonna try our luck with fennel this year. I've never planted it before, so we'll see what's gonna happen. All right, in our third and final bed here, we've got some big beefy tomatoes. These are gonna be really big tomato plants. I'm gonna put them here because they're gonna compete with each other. They might overtake those other smaller ones over there if we put them together. And then we've got some zucchini in the front. Again, these are probably 3 or 4 plants in there. I'm gonna break them up a little bit and kind of scatter them across that front area. The idea here is that these plants here are gonna be really tall in the back, so they'll soak up some sun. The stuff in the front is gonna be closer to the ground, so we'll get a lot of sun down there. They won't be competing as much. But by the end of the summer, all that zucchini will actually pretty much just spread out of these boxes, be all over the place. We'll have so much zucchini and yellow squash though, we won't know what to do with it. But it's my favorite thing to cook during the summer. It grows really well here in Illinois. It's a great vegetable and it's good to give away to friends and family and coworkers. So we'll get to it. Get these guys all planted.
Great.
All right, we've got our plants in the ground. Now we're gonna spread some straw over the top of the soil. You get straw at Home Depot or Lowe's. It usually comes in a big bale. I go ahead and separate it out in these garden bags. When I get home, I usually get, again, like 3 big bags like this. So I've maybe bought straw once every 3 years. But what you do with it is you kind of spread it over the top of your garden like this, and it provides a lot of benefits. It holds moisture really well, so it'll keep everything nice and moist. It prevents weeds from covering up because it covers the whole top of that soil. And then it also provides a lot of nutrients. There's nutrients in this stuff. It'll break down over time, but also those nutrients will go to your plants. So lots of benefits to it. That's why I like to use it. Now we're on to our final step. We're going to put these tomato cages in around the tomatoes. What these do, tomatoes are essentially vines. And they'll go straight. They don't really grow straight up. They kind of grow all over the place. And that should give them a nice cage like this. That'll help them grow straight into the air. And by the end of summer, we'll have tomatoes that are probably going up about this high. So I'll make sure to put some pictures there. I'm going to go ahead and get all these tomatoes in, and then we'll go on to our final step, which is watering this garden for the first time.
Ooh. Are you tired, Soda? Are you too tired from gardening? Is it too much work? Huh? Is it too much work? Is it too much work?
All right, we've got our tomato cages in. So we did put bigger tomato cages over here on the larger tomato plants, the blue ones. These green ones are smaller for these smaller plants. But we're ready to water. We want to water pretty much every day now for the next few weeks. These plants need to get established. Their small root systems need to kind of get in and around the soil around them, and we want to get these beds moist again too. That's the other thing. So probably water just a little bit every day. Use the little rain cycle here. It's not sitting on the right. There you go. That's better. Not too much pressure. So give everything a nice soak, good drink, and we're good to go.
Looking pretty, Mike Mango.
We're gonna have so many vegetables come July. 2 months away.
Great.